WoW's director pretty much confirmed the leaks. He said a lot. We're going to get into this one here. I don't know exactly what this is about or what leaks. I'm guessing it's a Last Titan leak. We've talked a lot about the Last Titan, the premise of the expansion, what I think it's going to be about. I really do think this is leading us into a essential reset of WoW, back to the basics of WoW. We're going to awaken Azeroth. She's going to like reset the planet in some way, shape, or form after we win, and all that shit's going to go down that way. So let's check this video out from Bellular and see what these leaks are, what exactly happened, and why Ian has essentially confirmed them.
Welcome back to the WoW News. We have a lot to talk about today, starting with this quote from Ian Hazzikostas. Nothing to announce right now, but the team is definitely discussing some potential improvements there for The Last Titan. Okay, improvements in a new expansion, hardly a surprise, but in this case that was Ian being asked about secondary professions. And in other words, there we have it. I believe Blizzard are actually trying to get archaeology back in The Last Titan. And I know that may not seem like much proof, but people like Ian always have a tell. There's a very well-known trick when interviewing developers, especially developers.
By the way, some people aren't excited about archaeology. I think if Blizzard does the right thing with archaeology and actually makes it like this exploration-based profession, I think it'll be cool. There's so much potential for archaeology. I'm not even a profession Andy, but archaeology I used to think was cool. Like just the premise of it, exploring things, discovering items, discovering ancient mounts, maybe. I think that would be really cool.
With media training, and that goes double for whenever they're on a PR tour. You see, they want to talk about things, but it's up to you to find those things. And when Blizzard themselves are doing the interviewing, like in a WoWcast, they already know. Now in this case, Varia, the Blizzard person handling the Q&A, knew to poke an archaeology. And I'm glad she did, because naturally Ian caught the ball and ran with it. And at the very least, he's proved that archaeology is on Blizzard's mind. In short, he sung archaeology's praises, except for the gameplay bit. Now, it's no secret that actually doing archaeology was boring at its very best, so to hopefully improve things, Ian said they'd love to, quote, look at ways of delivering that fantasy in a way that is, quote, maybe more fun in a moment-to-moment sense. And it really was a great fantasy. In Cataclysm alone, you could dig up over 170 unique items that painted a picture of one of the game's ancient races, the Trolls. Items like Zinrock, Destroyer of Worlds, this epic sword from way back in the day when epic still really did mean something. It was a frustrating massive time sink for some, but to those who actually read the item descriptions, well, the likes of Zinrock was a hint at a return to Zoloman and Zul'Gurub. And then there's the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron, an ancient, legendary source of Old God Whispers that kept us loreheads, eating for literally years.
Yeah, that thing was cool. So this was what was cool about archaeology. The process of archaeology could have been better done. It was not exactly exciting in any way. But the items that you get from archaeology, like some of these, this thing was like a year's worth of content, basically.
Done right then, archaeology could turbocharge how players actually engage with the lore of Warcraft.
Yeah, it's almost like a built-in secret finders. The secret finder, group in WoW, how they're always discovering these interesting things that Blizzard devs have put into the game. This was like a more formal version of that, where like you don't have to be hyper skilled or super analytical to find these items. It was just a profession thing that kind of led you along the way.
Because right now what ends up happening is Blizzard puts tons of lore and tons of detail into
and
world,
achievements,
like via every zone. But it's just overlooked because we're usually busy doing completely different other things. Archaeology would fix that. Give us the look at this cool lore sort of context, gameplay system, whatever, like Blizzard did with, say, lore walking, and I think you can bet we'll start to take it in. So, despite the official line being there's nothing to announce, I think we can almost certainly expect another crack at archaeology in The Last Titan, and in a way that respects the fantasy of, quote, researching and uncovering relics from lost civilizations. Because, come on, that's the core premise of archaeology. That's like profession description. That's what we want. But I have a warning for the game team. Please keep this a secondary profession. Now, I know what might be tempting you.
Sure.
You want to turn it into a full gameplay feature of the expansion, something like Prey, where you fly to waypoints, click on a bunch of items, do a bunch of things, maybe a digging animation, and then fight some ancient construct of an old god or a titan minion, which doesn't sound half bad as a piece of invasion-adjacent content. But I don't think it's what people actually want archaeology to be. I think people want archaeology to be an actual, real profession. Limited combat, relaxing content,
I want it to be
all
relaxing
across the world.
I'd like archaeology to be like for something like today, right? Where I've achieved everything in the game. I've done it all. I've one-shotted all the bosses. Delve Nemesis boss basically flicked him away, easy content. And now I'm sitting with nothing really to do. It would be cool if I could just, casually walk around, log in, and do some archaeology.
Never mind, of course, all the ways you could hook it into player housing. So, Blizzard, you've
I
got an
already beat WoW,
opportunity
so
to
why not?
make what feels like an actually new profession, and to do that without worrying about how it would hit player power and the WoW economy. Use that opportunity and try something that will last more than just a patch, or maybe a trio of patches across a season. Okay, all that stuff about archaeology was only one part of a large, dense interview. So what else did Ian have to say? Well, I'll start with the most important bit, and that is the 8-week patch cadence. And surprisingly, Ian revealed some kinda staggering data in this. As expected, he said it's, quote, working for the majority of players. Yeah, they would say a line like that, but maybe not in the way that you or I might imagine. You see, according to player surveys that Blizzard carries out,
Evidently, this survey, by the way, was in the launcher. I had no idea. I don't know. I completely missed the survey. But I said it in one of my YouTube videos. I was like, where was the survey? And people in the comments were saying it was in the launcher. So I must have missed it.
it actually divides us all pretty damn badly. 25% of players feel it's too fast. 25% of players say it's still too slow. I wonder what drugs they're on. And the last 50% say it's about right. And that puts us in an awkward situation. 50% looks like a lot of people really happy with it, but it does also mean that half of the player base isn't really happy with it.
Sure.
Now, if you put yourself in Ian's shoes, you can see why it kind of looks like the right call, though. Especially since 1207 does suggest that Blizzard have gotten more of a handle on their fairly long history of rather broken patch days. If you slow down, you make 25% of players happier then, but maybe that would hurt the other 75%. And the same goes if you somehow speed things up. It would piss off all the other people.
Who the hell thinks it's too slow? I mean, the only way I could imagine feeling like the patch cycle's too slow is if I'm just retired or unemployed and I'm just playing nonstop. Okay, then yeah, I'm sure it does feel slow at that point. But 25% of the player, maybe 25% of the player base is unemployed. I don't know. But that's pretty crazy to me. I would think people are going to lean to about right or too fast. And one reason why people think it's too fast is because the patches come out broken too. So they'd rather Blizzard slow down a little bit and give us patches that are not broken.
Now, in the interview, he says it's hard to make a big pivot based on that data, though he did also say that the data isn't ironclad and that if it starts to swing, they will change things accordingly. Now, there's plenty to break down here. First, Ian, I do respect that that is offhand in an interview, and there's almost certainly way more to this, and loads of context that you couldn't just say sitting there. Of course. Now, with that caveat in mind, I think it's beginning to sound like you guys are caught in a fairly common type of execution trap. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, basically, isolating and cherry-picking data that supports your hypothesis, and worse yet, and I think this is the case in this, it's using a lagging indicator. You see, by the time people are telling you they're unhappy, you've already made them unhappy. Now, that's valid data,
Right.
That's good, you can use it.
That's true.
But it also means that you are learning too late. So, I sincerely hope that the executive team of WoW are maybe looking at some other things, like if certain player types have unusually few logins, or maybe shorter session times at the same point in previous seasons. Those things that are more based on actual player behavior, not just people sharing an opinion. Though, of course, in a game with incentives, even that data can't be fully trusted. And that is part of what makes the job the Warcraft team has genuinely challenging. But if there's anything to do, it would be to find more leading indicators rather than lagging ones. Those will start to tell you things ahead of time, maybe if you need an injection of excitement. Or you could just look at the game and know it needs sometimes a bit more sauce. And you know what? We already know that Ian thinks that. You see, a while ago, Ian told Cyber that they are thinking about basically changing things up more and doing change because change itself can actually be a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I like some of the cool events that supposedly are coming, right? There's that there's that whole haunted village event that Blizzard hasn't even talked about, but they just gave us the image of. It's supposed to be another almost separate-ish thing, kind of like Plunderstorm was. So we'll see what that's about. That's another like interesting change that's come into the game. Labyrinths are another interesting thing, like the huge mega delves, basically. I would like to see more stuff like that. Remix has been a fun thing that they brought into the game. Like I wish right now Plunderstorm was active. I'll be honest. Like now that everything's kind of done and we're just dicking around for the next 2 weeks until the next patch comes out, like why isn't Plunderstorm active? I don't understand. Like Blizzard has this catalog of shit that they could just open up for players to do right now on the side, and everything's closed. I don't get it, but yeah, interesting new things to the game. Sure, those will be fun.
Whenever a game just feels too stuck in a schedule. Now, of course, we're expecting to find out more about Last Titan at this coming BlizzCon, and you know what? That BlizzCon
I'd rather play Remix than Plunderstorm. Well, I mean, anything. Just give us something right now. Because I kind of feel like there isn't much to do.
is actually shaping up to be pretty damn huge, and that's the next thing we need to talk about.
All things
Okay,
Warcraft.
we've been banging on about this leak for a bit of a while now, and basically we discovered how plausible it was and we made a video about it. Now, also in our recent video on how the Xbox changes are impacting Warcraft, we found out that Jez Corden, a journalist for Windows Central, who has a lot of contacts at Xbox, that he has heard about a range of TV and film projects. Those things obviously line up.
Yeah, I think these
and
could
what
be
all that
announced
does is
at
contribute
BlizzCon.
to an information environment, one that, of course, Blizzard and Ian Hazacostas will be paying attention to. And I think we know Ian's paying attention because I think he gave it more credence and purpose. You see, at the end of the Q&A, he talked about BlizzCon, and he chose his words very carefully. Here's the quote. "Can't wait to share a whole lot more information about all things Warcraft at that point."
Yep.
All things Warcraft.
I know what he's about to say, because I said this when we were reading the freaking interview. And I go, it's very interesting that he just said Warcraft instead of World of Warcraft, right? Because typically, I mean, what are we going to hear about Warcraft? Are they going to release another, RTS or something? No, I don't think so. When he's saying Warcraft, it's very intentional. He's not saying World of Warcraft. He's talking about the IP Warcraft. And that's why I said, guys, I think we're going to get some like TV show announcements or something, other stuff going on with the IP outside of just the World of Warcraft.
So not just the modern game. And basically what we should think about that is Classic Plus and maybe something Warcraft that isn't just WoW. That has only ever happened 3 times in history, with the movie, with Hearthstone, and of course, Warcraft Rumble. Only one of those was a major success.
Oh my god, I forgot about
Hearthstone. Which, by the way, just lost its game director.
Did they cancel Warcraft Rumble? Is that like gone now? That game deleted? I wonder.
Again, which is a massively frustrating sign right when I've gotten way too much into playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds. God damn, there's a lot of design mastery in that game, but I won't dwell on that for now. Let's think about things forward-looking. What could Ian mean by that? Well, to remind you of the Slate leak, according to that leak, a Warcraft Chronicles RTS and an animated series are supposed to be a thing, as well as an RPG and a live-action project all around Arthas. Apparently that's the plan for Warcraft's future, and I think Ian's move more or less confirmed that we'll get to see at least some of that stuff in just a few months from now. Because all things Warcraft has got to mean more than just World of Warcraft, and that means it can't just be Classic Plus and Modern. Let's get back to the game itself. When asked about Azeroth as a living world, Ian said they were initially scared about rebuilding Silvermoon and Eversong. They were basically worried that people would be bored or would just be annoyed at rehashing
I think the
existing
rebuild's been
location
great.
that people really like. A fair enough fear, but I mean, between you and me, I think it's obvious that most of us prefer, rather massively, playing in the Azeroth that we know, instead of just having brand new islands bolted onto the map every 6 months. I think Ian gets that, and honestly, he couldn't help himself because almost unprompted, he just starts going off on one. He lists Stormwind, Orgrimmar, Westfall, and the Barrens specifically, and when he does, he says that it would be, quote, limiting if they could never go there again. So, what does that mean? Does that just mean a world revamp after the last Titan? Just that happening again?
I think so. I don't know if like the whole world's going to get revamped all at once, but I think phased revamps are coming, like zone by zone, section by section. We basically got almost the entirety of the upper half of the Eastern Kingdoms. There's still spots that need to be revamped up there, but they did do a big, basically swath of old Azeroth. So we could get more phases like that, or we could see a total revamp of the entire world. I don't know, that'd be a crazy undertaking, but it could happen. And there's so many assets in the game now they can use. Player housing if anything, has introduced a ton of assets that can now be used by the devs to rebuild areas.
Maybe. If true, then thanks for the heads up, Ian. I'd say you heard it here first, but it's been a pretty popular theory for years. Ian obviously knows that, and willingly giving it a whole bunch of oxygen to burn, I think, is a choice in itself. There is more evidence besides that, and we'll be covering it in an upcoming video. Next, though, the single biggest surprise of the entire interview by far. PvP. We don't often talk about PvP here, and it's for good reason. No one seems to care that much outside of the PvPers.
So, I mean, yesterday, that's funny that he's talking about PvP. I tried to queue it live on stream, right? I was like, fuck it, guys. We got nothing to do. Let's do some PvP. I feel like killing some people in the game, of course. And I queued up. The queue said, what did it say? It said like 3 minutes or 8 minutes. The thing took over 30 minutes to get me in. I was like, damn, what do PvPers do all day? What the hell's this? This queue's taking forever. I couldn't believe it. But I mean, you know, it's the end of the season. I get it. Not a lot of people are playing, but like, it's really that bad right now. It took 30 minutes to get one PvP match. That means if I want to get in here and just play 2 rounds of any PvP match, and by the way, I queued up for multiple things, just 2 rounds. It's going to take an hour? What the hell? This seems like a bad use of my time.
But there's a reason, because as the years have gone on, it's just gotten less love from Blizzard, and the community has kind of dwindled into only 2 types of people. The truly passionate, and I guess the people who just grin and bear the pains for just getting gladiator mounts and saddles and things. But what's good is Ian just took it very seriously and gave us some pretty good news on specifics. Things like a new Q dodger penalty, and devs focusing on fixing MMR for Season 2, plus news and PvP talent updates during this season. Now, I'll mostly skip over the minor details today because there's actually something that's a lot more juicy, and it's that Ian kind of betrayed their entire design philosophy. Here's the relevant quote. At a high level, we want to serve our PvP community better, but we also need to grow the PvP community in order to justify that. Now, this
Plunderstorm. Give me more Plunderstorm. I know I already mentioned it in this video, but I actually did like Plunderstorm a lot. And I know that's not proper PvP because, you know, you're playing on a separate tune and all your abilities are gone. It's a classless version of the game, basically. But I enjoyed it a lot. Like, if they come up with more creative versions of PvP, I think you could get more people to do it. I just think people right now, they're just not into, you know, the current versions of PvP that we have.
This is a growing trend in most of the games industry, but honestly, most industries. And it's not good for a video game. You see, because there aren't enough PvPers, PvP gets ignored.
Yeah.
Because, of course, PvP is underserved, that then means the number of PvPers will get smaller.
Yeah.
It is a death spiral, and as long as that's Blizzard's philosophy of having to justify, then we're kind of screwed. You see, things like Slayer's Rise and the training grounds are good, healthy ideas, but they're so limited. They're only useful if PvP itself is seen as being worth playing. Basically, no one gets into a dead game. Not alone, anyway. So for PvP to thrive, they need to abandon that philosophy completely and take a leap of faith. Blizzard needs to go against the cold, hard logic and basically love PvP so much that it roars back to life. That means revamping PvP systems, designing classes for PvP as well as PvE, and basically screaming from the rooftops that PvP is alive. And I think it needs to be back. It used to be a vital part of WoW's identity. I think most people know that.
You know, one thing I think that hurt PvP a little bit is like specific PvP sets are gone. Like I remember like at least PvP, like one thing that one reason why non-PvPers would do it would be like they love the set that you can get from PvP because it was a completely different set. It was very unique. It had like, obviously you would see somebody where you're like, damn, that guy's a big dick PvPer. Now it's just a recoloration of the tier sets. So a lot of people are like, well, you know, there's no reason to do that. They still have it. I know they do, but it's just a recolor. I'm saying like, you know, specific redesigned PvP sets. Like something really cool to chase even for a non-PvP, or like you just love the set so much, you're like, bucket, I'll go do PvP to go get this thing. Basically putting like a transmog incentive behind PvP. It used to be a thing that like the PvP sets were very unique, way outside of whatever the tier set looked like. It was a completely different thing, and that hasn't been the case in a while.
A bit of WoW's identity that it needs back. And if no one at Blizzard is willing to make that call and actually take the risk, then it will just continue to wither. And if that's going to be the MO, I would say just go and kill it. Not literally, but at least let the PvPers stop holding out on false hope, because that is a damaging customer relationship. What they need to do is mark a date in the calendar, the last Titan, maybe 14.0, and basically say, this is the day that PvP will be reborn. They need to spend years getting that right, and then they need to market the shit out of it as a core feature to the game. That's what I would do anyway, but only if I thought it was worth saving. It's definitely risky, and Blizzard don't seem to be convinced that it's worth saving.
I wonder if Blizzard could do a battle, since they have the Plunder Storm mechanics in, do a battle royale, but actual PvP, people just drop into a zone like that, and then it's just a killing frenzy until there's only one left standing. Let me tell you, streaming wise, that would create some badass highlights. I'll tell you that, just crazy 1v1s at the end, just one big gladiatorial island. It would be kind of cool. I think that's what they need to do is come up with creative new PvP matches too, and then you attach a set, right? Or what do we call them? The freaking reputation things. God, I'm drawing a blank on whatever they're called. Give that event something like that too. You'd never get to the end, Sam, but it would be fun to progress, to get further and further. Whether or not I ever get the final achievement of being the final guy standing, it would be a lot of fun to do it and see how far you can get, and then keep pushing further, try to get to the top 10. I don't know. I think that would be a really cool event to play through. And yeah, you could do it without the Plunder Storm spells, legitimate characters, everybody dropping in and fighting it out.
At least enough to spend the time and money to actually save it. And the impact of that is simple. PvPers, it's on you to convince them. The classic and hardcore communities were actually able to pull it off, so if you guys can rally together, you might actually have a chance at making some change. That was a lot, but Ian had far more to say, and on some important topics. One is 12.1's story. It's gotten a lot of flack for being totally unconnected to the rest of Midnight so far, and of course, Ian debunked that by saying, basically, that how it ends will connect back to Midnight. I mean, if you're a lorehead, you already know, right? It's all about Cathix, the Cathaxi general from the, some of the Troll Akir wars that's buried under Zulaman. And of course, they've done this before. They connected Undermine using the Dark Heart last year. But the thing is, to a lot of people, it came off as being technically correct. You see, Blizzard, we live in a world now mostly driven by vibes, aesthetics, and first impressions, instead of what's really happening and what you can really play. That does kind of suck, but you guys need to remember it when you're designing patches, because to people, this is a troll patch, and therefore it feels like a detour, even if it has a valid logical connection that is on some lore that's actually really cool. And that just means that to average Joe, it will feel like a detour, and if it does connect back, which of course we know it will, and we know that the lore makes sense for how it will, well, to average Joe who doesn't know that lore, it will just feel like the plot's turning on a dime and nothing makes sense, because why is the troll patch suddenly now Midnight? What's going on? Because they probably also haven't read the quest text. And that is to say that a degree of vibe and aesthetic continuity and propulsion through the patches is really what's needed. Next topic, though, and it's a bit...
I mean, I get the continuity argument, but I don't want an entire expansion that's purple. There's also that. One nice thing, I mean, Shadowlands was, it was what it was. It had great zones in the beginning, and then we basically just dealt with spikes and darkness and S&M shit all over the place in the game for a while. And then finally we went to Zereth Mortis, which was a nice change up from the aesthetic that was all gray and shit and sadness. So Zereth Mortis was a nice change up. I think keeping up with the same aesthetic throughout the entire expansion does get old. Like I said, how long are we just going to deal with Starry Void shit in this expansion? It is going to be kind of nice to go to the troll poison looking stuff and change up the aesthetic a little bit. So I agree. Yeah, continuity in the story, kind of sure, but I don't know if we need it visually the entire expansion. I think it'll get old.
One, it's the missing Warbound reps. You see, we were
get ready for green. Yeah, it's getting
converted to the Warband system, being Warbound white, but they have not materialized yet. Now, Ian takes the blame for speaking too soon. Basically, he just didn't tell us how fiddly doing it is. It takes a lot of manual work, and doing it would come at the expense of some more important systems. They are currently figuring out how to make their workflow easier on that front, so he's basically hoping that he's got some news sooner rather than later. But of course, nothing yet. Now, in one way, that could be frustrating, but I think it's good that it's frustrating because it does seem to be true and honest, which is a hell of a lot better than hype and promises. Now, on the housing front, he doesn't say a whole lot that's new, but he does reveal that they're working on a, quote, housing showcase tool to basically let people browse and search houses instead of having to rely on some external gallery website. Moving on then,
like
he
a
talked
Zillow?
about Collector's Bounty, which is the big event for collectors, and he said it's something they want to do very sparingly. That bit's a quote. Basically, he's worried about bringing it around too often, and that would teach people that farming for old rare items would be completely pointless because just wait for the bonus event. And being realistic, I think we can all admit that that's basically happened with bonus XP events in the game. Though to be clear, he did say it'll come back at some point. Really, to me, it seems similar to Remix. It's the kind of thing they can probably keep doing at the carryover period at the very end of an expansion.
Yeah, any downtime.
I guess it's a bit disappointing that whenever Remix was mentioned, he didn't hint at what one is coming next, but you know what? Maybe that's not disappointing, and maybe it's better to save that being interesting and exciting for a time when it's actually relevant, and can be a proper announcement instead of just slipping something out at a Q&A. And as far as the Q&A goes, that's the most of it. Ian said that he wants to do more of this type of community Q&A, and he wants other devs and teams to do it as well. So here's to hoping we get more things like this, maybe from class devs, maybe from writers. That kind of thing going forward would be fairly huge. Who knows, maybe you could even get some Chris Metzen in front of a microphone to maybe tell us about how he helped write the Arthas live-action TV show, if that slate's to be fully believed. Who knows, but to be honest with you, the slate leak does look shockingly convincing, especially because of the timelines of evidence, and if you want to learn about that, you can watch this video next.
Yeah, nice video overall. I mean, a lot of this stuff we've talked about it too. The Ian Hazukosis interview did reveal a lot about kind of where things are going, the future, and everything else. The PvP stuff is interesting, and we'll see if they actually give it some love and attention. I do think there's potential there to excite some players maybe who don't PvP currently or haven't really gotten into that form of the game, because it's another half of the game that you could play through when there's downtime like right now, and it's not really existing right now. There's nothing you could do there. Nice video overall from Bellular.